9 are in ICU. For the first time, the public will be able to use a vaccine portal to register for appointments. The system goes live tomorrow at 10 a.m. Those aged 69 are being asked to register tomorrow, and 65 to 68-year-olds are being asked to register each day over the following days. A PPS number, air code and phone number will be needed, and it is also possible to register over the phone. The AstraZeneca vaccine is expected to be used, with appointments likely in 2 weeks. And a US prosecutor says he'll charge a former police officer with second-degree manslaughter after she fatally shot a black man in the state of Minnesota. Kim Potter claims she killed Daunte Wright by accident when she drew her gun instead of her taser. His death triggered several nights of protests. The Wright family lawyer Ben Crump says there have been a number of fatal police shootings of black people in recent years.
If ever there was a time in America when the police should be on their greatest behavior, if ever there was a time, Reverend Al, when they should be de-escalating on every situation, it should be now.
It's 2 minutes past 9.
News Talk weather.
Tonight will be dry with some mist and fog in places. Lowest temperatures of -2 to +2 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Football Show on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. Champions League nights on Off the Ball. Bigger than Zlatan's ego. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
I'm prepared to do anything I can to play for my country again.
Do it then. What about your start to the game?
It wasn't bad, was it?
Why should an honest answer be a mistake?
How can a modern day manager not have a mobile phone?
Why should he?
Now, welcome along, Football Show. Interesting first 45 minutes in the Champions League. It is 0-0 at Anfield, although Liverpool have been very good in this game. They've had a few three-quarter type chances. Madrid not in it, really, by comparison with the first leg. Meanwhile, over in Dortmund won, Manchester City 0. Jude Bellingham, born June 2003, scoring for Dortmund this evening. So as things stand, they will go through on away goals. There has been a sense there's been a goal coming for City, but the longer that goes on, ... air of quiet desperation. Dan McDonnell of the Irish Independent is with us. Hello.
Hi Joe, how are things?
Yeah, very well. So once again, look, we're having some TV issues here, Dan, I won't lie.
Oh no, seriously.
It's
of all the nights.
It's just the time of the season where you want our TV situation to really blossom midweek for Champions League knockout stages. I got the group stages perfectly, but less so the knockout stages. So
well,
that's where I am. What have you been watching? What can you tell me? I'm just giving the bare facts, obviously.
It's bad luck, that. Yeah, I mean, I think, did we talk about this last week? You know, the fact that all these Premier League games are spread out, and yet these there's two brilliant games on at the same time. And unfortunately, I should have a multi-screen system going here, but I just don't, because I need my laptop for work purposes, basically. But so I've done the old classic. I started off watching Liverpool Madrid, for around 15 minutes, and then the minute I heard Dortmund had scored, I switched over to that game, and it's compelling. It's really compelling.
Right.
So I purely because you have a situation, and it's a bit like what made the Bayern Munich game so great, the PSG Bayern game so great, is they have a really good side chasing. You know, they're on the chase, and they really have to try and push themselves to a limit. And you can almost see City in a position that maybe they didn't expect to be in against the Dortmund side that's probably sitting in. You know, they're going through as it stands, and as a result, City have really had to ask questions of themselves. You know, they're having questions asked of them, and they are finding it reasonably difficult. Although De Bruyne had a great effort against the crossbar, Mahrez had one cleared off the line. But it's just like with City's recent history with the Champions League and everything that's happened to them in the competition, you can feel the pressure, even in a closed-door stadium, and there's no crowd noise other than the fake stuff. Like, you can sense that they know, well, this is the year maybe where it's their chance, and it's slipping away from them. Now, listen, they've loads of time left, but it's just a classic situation here now where you have them on the chase, but also Dortmund of like Haaland potentially there on the break. You know, they have that ability to grab another. So it's been a really good tie. So I watched the early part of the Liverpool game, hoping that maybe they might got a goal to make that one particularly interesting. But really, it's, to me personally, with the one screen choice at the moment, Dortmund City is where it's at.
Yeah. Liverpool made a bright start, by the way. They're going okay in this game. 2-0 doesn't feel as impossible as it felt pre-kickoff, is what I said there at 9 o'clock. That was my sense, certainly, and what I saw. I did see a good chunk of it. I was streaming that online.
Yeah, no, and Salah had a great moment, and from, just from following it since I've sort of gone with the City game, like they've had like the better of it. But then is there a sense that that's what you would expect when they have to go and get the goals,
Probably,
and it's a bit of knockout experience from Madrid to some degree. But like they haven't. You spoke about this last week when you were on with Damien Delaney for the first leg. I mean, like it's not like an amazingly good Madrid side, although they are hitting a bit of form at a very important part of the season again.
Unbeaten in 13.
But they're not impenetrable either.
No.
So you sort of expect that Liverpool are going to have moments, because Liverpool, when they're good, are still pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I've great news. Brian Keaveney outside has done Trojan work. I now have Man City Dortmund on my television in front of me, and I'm streaming Liverpool courtesy of the good people at Virgin on my phone. So I'm back up and running. Man City in possession, Liverpool in possession. Trent with a cross. Oh, header just wide. That was a chance for Firmino. Look at me, Dan, watching the football.
I've only got the one at the moment because I'm.
Have you got your phone?
For other reasons.
Have you got your phone?
Yeah. Oh, I can. Do you know what? I'll get the Liverpool game up. That's what I'll do.
You do that for a second. Let me just tell. So I was watching this, quite interesting. I was talking to you about this earlier on. I was wondering, were there any Muslim players in the League of Ireland who are observing Ramadan at the moment? Because this went viral, as it often does at this time of the year, in the Turkish second tier. If you haven't seen this, the team from Ankara. Basically, during Ramadan, participating Muslims can eat after the evening call at sunset and obviously before sunrise. And so in the 11th minute, there was an injury, and a number of the players all kneel down side of the pitch and start laying into bananas and dates and taking water on board. And it really just brought home, I mean, if that injury hadn't happened, I guess they wouldn't have had the opportunity to do it. Really just brought home the circumstances under which they're playing. Ramadan began on Monday, so essentially you fast during daylight hours. You don't drink either. So your meal before sunrise is the suhoor, and the after evening prayer meal is the iftar. Hope my pronunciation of that is correct. And 2018, the Mail, I was reading about it, there was a couple of friendlies involving Tunisia, and their goalkeeper went down injured a couple of times with what the Mail calls an apparent injury after iftar began, allowing his teammates to eat and drink. And I hadn't realised, I was wondering about the likes of Salah and Mane, and I'd missed this at the time. Maybe everybody was well aware of this, but Salah, in advance of that Champions League final against Spurs, was observing Ramadan, and Jurgen Klopp was asked about it. He said, there's no problem with the fast of my players. I respect their religion. They were always wonderful. Mane as well, he's talking about here, offered the best, whether they were fasting or not. In this life, there are many things more important than football, and Mo Salah was fasting during World Cup as well.
A penalty, by the way. Sorry, Joe, I hate to go across you there, but sorry. No, that's sorry. Sorry, I feel rude. But
don't patronise me. Oh, that's very interesting. You go on.
It is actually interesting, because I do have a League of Ireland example for you.
Okay.
You asked me to find one. But there's a penalty to Man City, so it's a sort of significant moment in the Dortmund-Man City game here. Okay. To bring the live experience home to people, I know maybe it's more professional to wait, but it has just happened. It's a controversial moment. So it's a penalty into
describe the penalty.
So it's a cross into the box. I think it's from Foden, and it's a Dortmund defender under no pressure, has stooped to kind of head the ball out. But while he's sort of stooped, he's basically managed a combination of a diving or a header off his own arm, and the referee has pointed to the spot. Now, I know it's an old debate over whether was it a natural movement of his arm and whatnot, and it does appear to be a review ongoing, but the refs seem pretty sure. There's a penalty check ongoing, so it looks like De Bruyne is waiting to take it. I didn't actually catch who the player was, whose header it was. I don't know if you're seeing it there.
Well, they keep cutting to Emre Can, who's shaking his head in disgust, I think.
Yeah, it's sort of trying to mimic the actions. Maybe it was him actually in the moment, because they're not actually replaying the actual the actual header itself. But the ref seems happy enough with his decision.
They keep cutting to Emre Can. He's got his head in his hands now, and he was talking with Phil Foden there, and he was gesturing exactly what you said. He was gesturing a header and then pointing at his own arm as if to say, look, I headed the ball. It came off my own arm. Clearly, I didn't mean that, and he's He's fairly distraught looking, Emre Can. He's got his head in his hands.
It was Can, actually, yeah. It was Can. Sorry, 23. Sorry, it was. He was actually in the penalty's going ahead.
Oh. That seems harsh. That does seem very harsh, doesn't it?
Yeah, like he was stretching though. So I suppose if he wasn't stretched, would he be in that position? But again, like refs can give a more specific reading. It's actually not De Bruyne taking it. I apologise.
Mahrez.
Mahrez is taking it. De Bruyne was in shot, but
here we go.
Big moment.
Shots up. Oh, penalty! Great penalty. Keeper goes the right way, but Mahrez drills it high and above the keeper. He kind of hooked it to his right, keeper's left with his left foot, and that's a really, really good penalty under the pressurised circumstances. I look forward to seeing the Can penalty moment again, because it might depend where his hand was. Like if he has his hand high in a strange, unnatural position, maybe it's fair.
Yeah. No, I think to be fair, his hand probably wasn't in a natural position, but it was like.
Sounds like he just misheaded the ball.
Yeah. So like, is that where his hand is going to be if you're stretched to reach the ball? If you stretch to block it, but I suppose. Did it, prevent the ball from going to someone else? You can debate it, but they're not keen on showing us a whole chunk of replays on this incident here. Yeah. But it's I would say it's a contentious one, and Can sort of seems a bit miffed by the whole thing. But sorry, the Ramadan point you actually asked, was there a case closer to home or whatever? There's a guy, he's playing in Northern Ireland now, but a guy called Fuad Sula, or Fudzer as he was known, who played with Bows. I remember him speaking about it a couple of years ago. That yes, it was exactly as you say. It was he had to fast for a lengthy period of time, and he spoke at the time about how it really affected his energy levels. And his manager Keith Long was almost a bit exasperated by it, a small bit. But that was what you did. I think he spoke about getting advice from players in other countries. Because there wasn't another League of Ireland example at the time. Just getting advice from players to other countries as to how how did you cope with it? Did you stock up on energy when you could, or what way did you approach it? But it is something that, I'm interested to hear, like, sort of how Salah and that actually deal with it. But I mean, there's obviously, the multicultural aspect of the Premier League. I presume there's loads of players there, and it's what they do. Yeah, it's particularly like I think it was in June actually that he was affected. So it's. The summer season here and stuff, there's an overlap.
Well, based on what we're reading here and the fact that, even in Tunisia's games, keeper goes down injured a few times and they get some food on board, you would presume if it's at sunset that Salah and Mane can eat at half time. Maybe that's how they're getting some on board. But yeah, it's just incredible when you think of the level that they're operating on. Because also in that same piece, it mentioned Salah tweeting Instagram live posts of training himself at like 2:40 a.m. Almost that he post sunset he can eat and then has the energy to train overnight. But I mean, again, like what that does to your sleeping pattern goes without saying. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah, if you have there's also Eamon Ben, actually like a fascinating, one of the most interesting League of Ireland stories of recent years. Just generally, there's Eamon Ben Mohammed who again grew up in Ireland. He grew up here. Might have been born in the UK, but grew up in Ireland. He's Tunisian, and like had a sort of a routine, like played a schoolboy football in Dublin, then went to play for UCD, and then he sort of at Bows he started to thrive, and he went from there and he got a move to, I think it was Morocco. I'm trying to think, or was it actually Tunisia himself? He's now an international footballer with Tunisia, who was like raised in Ireland, but effectively he's now playing in Turkey. At the moment, like just a fascinating career, and he actually did encounter it as well. He had to like fast during the season here, but it's we have the situation at the moment where you have Roberto Lopez from Crumlin playing for the Cape Verde Islands, and they've qualified for the African Cup of Nations. And we have Eamon Ben Mohammed raised in Dublin, playing for Tunisian national football team. And it's something that's probably going to become more common with the range of sort of nationalities we have and different sort of communities in Ireland, that we'll see a lot of players probably raised in Ireland playing international football elsewhere, but that's obviously a bit of a bite. Yeah.
So a few other bits going on. Manchester United's home form, they have figured out the reason. History doesn't repeat, Dan, but it does rhyme. 25 years Tuesday since grey jerseys. So yet to win a home Europa League game, despite winning at Sociedad, at Milan, at Granada, without conceding. Solskjaer says, you'll see a change now. He says, if you see the banners around the club, it's not red anymore. We've looked into this. There shouldn't be any reason really, but some of the players have mentioned that split-second decision where you have to make them, you look over your shoulder, your teammate's there or not, and the red shirt is on a red background with just the seats. So, a la the grey jersey, they have changed the banners around the stadium to black, which is
I wish
opening them to absolute ridicule the first home game they lose.
I just haven't had the time to do a scientific study of the away games that they've won. Did they wear red in any of them, and did any of the home teams have red seats? You know what I mean? Because
burning question.
Because obviously they have their white away shirt or whatever. But I'm assuming in some of those places there might have been white seats or red seats if they're wearing the red jersey. I don't know. Someone out there will do it. Someone out there can go and put the legwork into that. But it is from the minute you read that, did everyone with their mind just go back to Southampton?
Yeah.
Did everyone? Was anyone out there who read that story and thought, that's an interesting point he makes there, or do we just think this is Fergie would approve of this one? This is from the playbook.
I think this is from the playbook. At the risk of ridicule, the red is glaringly similar to their jersey. It is the same red, obviously, and so it does jump out a little bit more so than other stadiums. I'm not quite sure that is. Now, I'm not saying it's the reason that Manchester United have dropped points at home, but it has occurred to me once or twice. We would need to be at pitch level, Dan, wearing our red jerseys to be able to give a definitive. Yeah. But that's Manchester United anyway at the moment. One other thing I wanted to ask you, is Vera Pauw getting away with things a little bit?
Okay.
So Kenny Shields, Northern Ireland, they beat Ukraine 2-0, second leg of their playoff, 4-1 on aggregate. Ireland beat Ukraine 3-2 from memory at home, and then definitely lost that away game with the terrible OG, and then didn't manage to score. And Kenny Shields making the point, all amateur players, 16 of the panel playing the Irish League for the likes of Glentoran, Linfield, Cliftonville, Crusaders. Maybe that is comparable with Ireland, but they beat them 4-1 on aggregate. I don't know, this really increasingly feels like a Euros that got away from the Republic of Ireland, I have to say. We're all very encouraging, and that's right, but on the face of it, I think, put it this way, if Northern Ireland had drawn the Republic in a playoff, the Republic would be firm favourites, I would suspect.
Yeah, no, I think it's a fair point. I think, to be fair, right, I can't imagine any of the Irish women players would say anything other than they blew it, and they did. It was it was a bottle job, really. Yeah. The Ukraine away game. And that's harsh, but that is what happened. They don't want to be patronised by sort of sort of bland platitudes. They really blew it in that group. And Kenny Shields, who famously as Derry City manager, slaughtered international football Kenny was obviously a quote machine when he was managing the League of Ireland, and he was the one. He was the one who slaughtered international football and described the Republic of Ireland national team as, I think, the England reserves, and as someone else was England reserves, and he slaughtered it. But then obviously he needed a gig, and Northern Ireland women came calling. But he's for all Kenny Shields' bluster, he's actually been a good manager along the way, managing Scotland and did a reasonably good job at Derry until it went a bit stale. But I think there's something in what you say, The Irish women players play at a good level.
Yeah.
There's women Super League players. Denise O'Sullivan's an amazing player.
Yeah.
And
Katie McCabe doing very, very well at Arsenal.
Yeah, and you go through it, and I think there's no doubt that because Ireland haven't qualified for a tournament before, Vera Pauw has very much been greeted as sort of, well, this is from the Irish history playbook, because you get the outside manager to come in here, show us how it's done, and get us to a tournament. And I've watched the friendlies in the last week. I didn't see all of the second game, but I saw a good bit of the first one. And, trying to build up a bit more. I think, to comment on it, you need to be watching the games, really, to try and comment on the team a bit more. And we're getting a bit more familiar with the team. And because they've come from a low base of never having qualified before, I think there is a sort of a generosity of sort of spirit in some of the coverage. Some would say there's real generosity towards the men's team at the moment, too, let's be honest. But
led by you, the Piper over there.
Well, sorry, it's off the ball, isn't it? The text line. I've heard the discussions.
To be honest,
but
Dan McDonnell, listeners, has a "Believe in Steve" T-shirt on. I should just say.
I think I'm down the list of that disciple Bible bashing. But yeah, listen, I remain a believer. But I think that there is an element of I did watch the friendly last week when they played and they were sending Louise Quinn up front for the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, that didn't seem like a good. That is not a progressive move in a friendly.
It's a friendly, and I know they did it against Ukraine last year as well when they were chasing it. And it's actually like an interesting clash of styles, because I think some of the Kenny critics would probably approve of this pragmatism by a reasonably well-paid overseas manager. But like they're not winning with that method either. And it did strike me that while there was a lot to be like encouraged about in this displays, if you're sending up a defender to like get on the end of it, get it in the mixer, in a friendly match. Yeah. Is this something for the future here or not? Or listen, maybe she's just realising that could be very effective in the women's game, and that's what you need to do. But anyway, like the Ukraine weren't that good, and Ireland floundered over there. I think Vera did get some criticism for goalkeeping choice in that game. In the Ukraine match, that Grace Maloney, who was in form at the time in England, didn't play. And Courtney Brosnan, who played, was poor, and like that's there. You live and die by your decisions like that. But did they underachieve in their group? They got themselves into a very good position, but Northern Ireland's exploits probably do bring home the fact that yes, it was one that very much got away here. And to be fair, I think I would imagine if the World Cup campaign doesn't go that well, I think Vera Pauw will come in for a fair degree of criticism, because she has like an old school men's team appointment. She's been hired to qualify, really. That's what she's been hired to do, to get them over the line. It's not about a big lengthy development plan or anything like that, or changing the style of play. Ironically enough, it's about qualifying, because everyone knows what a boost that would be for the game in this country if they do it. So her remit is almost trappish. So it's no surprise maybe that you might see the odd pragmatic move, like sending a defender up for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, we'll see how this is all greeted. Like I said, I think there is a generosity there, and we're all, becoming increasingly accustomed to the landscape in the female game. And so how good are Ukraine really? It was maybe hard for us to know. I hadn't watched many Ukraine games at this level before, but suddenly when you see Northern Ireland beat them by 4-1, that's when I think it puts Ireland's failing into sharper focus, I think, and that's what's happened over the last 24 hours. We also saw one of the great red cards in that game. Truly one of the great red cards. If you haven't seen this, you just have to go online. I think most people have seen it at this stage. I think the Ukrainian player might have had a 20-yard head start and was the absolute favourite for the ball. There was no way she couldn't have got the ball. And all respect to her, she made a very early decision to try and clothesline the Northern Irish player. And she didn't waver from that decision and made firm contact and walked straight for the line after. Didn't even look for a red card. I thought to myself,
Some would describe it as a professional foul, but it was actually it was a really unprofessional attempt at a professional foul. Like this was like an amateur professional foul, in her defence, it was like the 86th minute of the game, I think, or very late in the day. Yeah. So clearly she knew, as much as you say she had a 20-minute or 20-second head start, she knew more than anybody else how much batteries there was left. Like she knew if the phone was on 4% power and the red line was there and all the signs were flashing up, she knew she wasn't going to get there. And maybe, you've seen the experienced defenders that they sort of shield, they shield the other player out of the way and they get away with it. But your description of it there, the clothesline probably didn't help her case, whereas she just got her body in the way and could claim that she ran into her, but it was a bit more... but I think, in fairness to her, it looked like she also got a 5-second head start on the walk to the tunnel afterwards as well, because she knew what was coming.
Premeditated would be the word. Still 0-0 at Anfield. So suddenly now Jurgen Klopp's gone from encouraging and yes boys and we're in this to, I think, a bit tetchy, because Klopp is now very much against Liverpool. They need to score 2. They have 25 minutes left, and over in Dortmund 1-0. So City 3-2 up. Slavia Prague defender Andre Kudela, Dan, he's been banned for 10 matches for his, quote, racist behaviour towards Rangers Glenn Kamara. So Kamara said he was the victim of, quote, vile racist abuse, end quote, by Kudela during their Europa League game at Ibrox on March 18th. The Rangers midfielder accused his opponent of, he cupped his hand and leaned into Kamara's ear and called him an effing monkey, allegedly. Which Kamara denied. He claimed he'd called him an effing guy. So that was his defence, and he was sticking to it. UEFA have imposed 10-game ban, which I wasn't sure, hadn't fully realised is the maximum. Now, Ian Wright on his Twitter feed made a good point. I might just get it out, but he was retweeting somebody who themselves had tweeted that, for instance, 10 games is the maximum here, and yet Kieran Trippier got 12 games for telling his mates in a WhatsApp group, by the way, I'm heading off to Spain, just FYI. Yeah. And he got 12 games for that. So it does beg the question as to why 10 games is the maximum for something so heinous. Like, it depends how you want to look at this. If you were, for instance, genuinely to say, well, this is a workplace, and it most certainly is, they're paid well enough that this is a workplace. If anybody in a workplace, and I do, before anyone texts in, I do appreciate there are different cultures in a dressing room and out there on a pitch and all that stuff, but if you were to kind of be very basic about it, if anybody in a workplace had behaved like this, they would never work again in that workplace. So suddenly in that respect, 10 games maximum probably needs to be looked at if Trippier is picking up 12.
Well, listen, there's no doubt that football's honour code on punishments related to racism has always been miles off, in terms of, fines, fines for sort of, racism in the stadium or whatever, relative to, say, sort of mundane punishments you'd get for, like, I don't know, having the wrong advertising hoarding up, or even like the Dundalk one last year, the shadow coaching. No doubt it was an offence, Philippe Giovanni, but still 50 grand, like, is a stronger punishment, a bigger like penalty than you would encounter for some, like, for racism from spectators, in stadiums and so on. I suppose the one thing I would say of this one is about when there's a degree of dispute still, and someone is still protesting their innocence, and like, I think, I wonder, does that in a way temper any desire to go any harder, if you know what I mean?
I do.
Where there's a sort of listen, you are still relying on the word of people, and you have no reason to doubt it in any way, and you could see the Kamara was offended so badly by it, and listen, they've reached a judgment that they have, so clearly they're satisfied that it did occur. But I just wonder, when it's not 100% cut and dried, and you don't have like the clear video evidence that completely removes any doubt and removes any defence, so that he has no defence. I just wonder, does that make it then harder? And to be honest, I actually think 10 games isn't bad,
compared to some of their previous punishments. Yeah, he does miss the Euros. He does miss the Euros, exactly. So he'll feel it.
That's a big punishment.
But so say, for instance, there was irrefutable evidence. It was clearly caught on camera, and a bunch of the top lip readers in the world concluded this is exactly what was said. It still would seem 10 games is the maximum.
Yeah, and maybe they need to look at that. I think that's a fair point. Like, that their upper limit sanction needs to go up. But, like, to what level? Like, I'm not so sure.
For something like that, would you not think, I mean, top of my head here, 6 months to a year? I mean, I started...
No, that's different to lifetime. That's different to lifetime.
Sure.
Sorry, but you mentioned lifetime previously.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, could you... Again, when you compare it to any other workplace, there would be no second chance for that kind of deliberate behaviour. So, I mean, like, you got to be thinking a minimum of a season, like something massively career-threatening, to put a stop to this, because it just seems like it's out of control.
But I think if you're going to equate it to a workplace situation, Joe, you're actually maybe putting the onus more so on the employer than you are by a third party, governance figure, like maybe it's, I mean, maybe you're in that event, you're not really looking for UEFA to ban them, you're looking for the club to sack them, if that's your perspective on it, that, like, UEFA can do so much, but like you had, like, to feel, I think, where do you expect that to come from? Like, you would think that the player's reputation is damaged in such a way that it affects their earning power and whatnot, but that revolves on clubs and not just UEFA hitting out a blanket ban. I don't know. I take your point on it. Like, there's layers to the debate, but there has to be a point where, like, there's education, and, like, I'm not sure if I feel comfortable about the idea of sort of the lifetime ban discussions with it. But I understand that maybe, like, you know, does a club feel obliged on behalf of their sponsors, say, or whatever, to let someone go? And maybe if they don't feel the need to do that, what does it say about the attitude to it maybe in some of these countries and some of these places where it's possibly not viewed as that serious a thing? And that's possibly more of a broader point to it.
Ian Wright, by the way, did tweet, "I'm guilty of this kind of thinking as well. So many times you think to yourself, this is a chance for them to send a message, or this is a chance for them to show how seriously they take it, only to be disappointed time and time again," was his tweet about 6 hours ago, with 13,000 likes very promptly and well over 1,000 retweets. Kevin De Bruyne from Man City's just had a brilliant moment. He beat about 2 or 3 players, cut inside onto his right foot, and you expected only one result, but keeper made a good save and it's out for a corner. For Liverpool, the clock continues not to help the situation. 72 minutes on the clock. Cruz has just gone off, but Madrid, you would think, are eyeing up the next 19 minutes and feeling much better about the situation. Phil Foden's just scored, I think. 75 minutes on the clock.
It's after that De Bruyne chance. It was a short corner for City, and basically, they've worked it to Foden at the edge of the box. And it's sort of a thunderous left footer that seems to have beaten the goalkeeper at his near post, and maybe he wasn't anticipating him to go near post, but nothing like they've worked a short corner, and Foden's unmarked at the edge of the box, and the keeper probably is per at his near post there. A bit of power from Foden, he's drilled it, but it's got between a gap at the near post that it really shouldn't have.
No. Oh, it's terrible. Yeah, keeper, big mistake. For Foden, 2 Champions League goals in 2 knockout games. Straight over to Pep for a hug.
Oh, it was a great moment on the sideline. Yeah, they're loving. But I think it was a relief from the City one. They were getting a bit desperate before half time. Marvin hits the goalkeeper. They were getting a bit desperate before half time, City. Like, you could sense the panic. So I think this is a real big moment for them. They can
absolutely,
like, you know, Dortmund were doing a reasonable job.
PSG Man City, I must say, does capture the imagination. I mean, it's the sports washing bonanza,
the romance of it all. What a romantic tie that is.
It'll be good on the pitch, I suppose, is the grim reality. Interestingly, by the way, we had Sam Lee from The Athletic on pre-game, and he was just, I was asking him, when did Raheem Sterling stop being Manchester United's best, or Manchester City, excuse me. I'm looking at Declan Rice here talking about going to Manchester United, was the next story I was going to touch on. But when did Sterling stop being in Man City's best 11? And Sam Lee was quite interesting because he covers City for The Athletic, and he was saying that it was kind of around the time United beat them, and then Sterling was left out of the Southampton game, I think, and then there was a big enough bust up, actually. Raheem was not happy at being left out. Big enough bust up. Pep doesn't react well to that kind of thing, and ever since, if you've been eagle-eyed, see, sometimes it's hard with City to spot the pattern because they rotate so much, but actually in the big games, Sterling has been out ever since, which is noteworthy. But Foden in there and has scored this evening. We got to take a short break. Time is coming against us. The Declan Rice story, by the way, there's nothing major in it, but the Manchester Evening News were leading with the story that Rice, on England camp most recently, had been asking Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw and Dean Henderson lots of Manchester United questions. What's it like at the club? What's the gaffer like? All that kind of stuff. So Declan Rice sounding out the boys was the story in the Manchester Evening News.
I'm sure he'll stay loyal to his first choice.
Oh, Dan, come on.
Let it go.
Let it go.
I'm sure,
that is pathetic.
I'm sure he was asking Mason Mount about England when they, their childhood mates, when he was back from Ireland camps. Listen, of course, West Ham fans will realise that money talks, and ambition talks. And he's going to go where he's got the best chance of doing stuff. I mean, that's what he did with Ireland ultimately. So he'll do the same with West Ham. Always going to happen.
Like Nathan Murphy's son, he's going to make the right decision. If you don't know what we're talking about, then don't worry about it. We'll take a short break. We're going to talk to Stewie Byrne. Obviously, Graham Burke wonder goal last night in the League of Ireland, and we're 4 games in. Some interesting bits and bobs going on. We're going to talk about that next.
Football on Off the Ball
with Paddy Power, the Champions League. We love it as much as Neymar loves himself. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
On tomorrow's Pat Kenny Show, the vaccine chaos and the latest science from Professor Luke O'Neill. It's a lottery. Frank MacDonald on our dysfunctional planning system. A pat on the back for students who promote Irish. Our Eason Book Club reviews the latest novel from Joel Dicker of Harry Kubert fame. And of course, the breaking news.
The Pat Kenny Show
with Mater Private Network.
Tomorrow morning at 9.
on News Talk.
When you get enough people together, you can achieve almost anything. Send someone like me into space, or create change on the ground. People power, strength in numbers, whatever you want to call it, it works.
Together with over 1 million homes and businesses already with Electric Ireland, we're making changes for a brighter energy future. Be part of the change at electricireland.ie.
You deserve more than a bank. At On Post Money, we understand that big decisions are easier to make when things work with you, not against. So, whether you want to get a new car or landscape a summer garden escape, you'll find a loan that's built around you with our new low standard rate and simple process. Visit onpost.com/loans or your local post office. Lending criteria, terms and conditions apply. New applications only. On Post acts as a credit intermediary on behalf of Avantcard DAC. On Post trading as On Post Money is authorised as a credit intermediary by the CCPC. Avantcard DAC trading as Avant Money is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Have you heard about Loving 30? It's a campaign to save lives and make our roads safer.
Dublin City Council is proposing extending the 30-kilometre speed limit across most of the city. We want to make the roads safer for everyone, for pedestrians, for cyclists, and for all motorists. Driving at 30 kilometres per hour improves driver reaction and braking distance, and it saves lives.
Have your say and help make Dublin a safer city. Log on to www.dublincity.ie/loving30 before April 23rd. Loving 30. Slow down. Save lives. A message from Dublin City Council.
Wildflower, the new album from the unmistakable voice of Ava. The Grammy-nominated artist captures the essence of Ireland and the rhythm of the earth. Wildflower, out now. See avaworldmusic.com.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. Champions League nights on Off the Ball. Bigger than Zlatan's ego. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
10 minutes to go. Still Dortmund 1, Manchester City 2. So 4-2 City on aggregate. They are through to the semi-final, you would think, against PSG. And it's looking very much now like Real Madrid will take on Chelsea. Still 0-0 at Anfield. 78 minutes on the clock. Dan McDonnell alongside me. My battery is running perilously low, Dan. That's my Liverpool source at the moment. It's also upsetting because the thought of having to go home with just my own thoughts is frankly terrifying. Not used to it.
Just stay in the office for an extra 10 minutes and charge it, Joe. Like any normal person would do, obviously.
Yeah, I don't want to be alone with just me for 20 minutes. Stewie Byrne, hello.
Hey, Joe.
Are you watching any of the games this evening?
I'm not. No, I'm not. I don't. I'm sort of on a bit of a sabbatical from all this overhyped stuff, to be quite honest with you.
Sorry, the Champions League knockout stages are not overhyped.
I'm sticking to the domestic game for the foreseeable future. I just can't. I can't deal with all the sort of. It is overhyped. I think it's overhyped.
Champions League knockout stages, Stu, is as good as football gets. Premier League overhyped all day long. I'm with you. Champions League knockout stages is, for a lover of the beautiful game like yourself, is where it's at.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but I know I'm going through one of them stages now where I'm sort of fighting with myself. I'm trying to. I've actually just been watching. This is totally off topic, but Seaspiracy. It's a documentary on Netflix about fishing.
Yeah, I hear you won't eat your
amazing.
Your salmon of a Friday with as clean a conscience.
It's not that extreme, but I think it's I'm certainly starting to question a lot of things, put it that way, around me. And soccer in this country is in my crosshairs.
Okay.
Sorry to burst your bubble, Joe. I know your phone is going dead and all. Like, maybe actually a little bit of time to yourself will just might be the ticket,
Be an absolutely dreadful idea, time with myself. So listen, let's bring people up to date on what's going on in the League of Ireland. The only football worth watching. says Stewie Byrne, and you're dead right, says Dan McDonald. So we have St. Pat's top of the table on 10 points. We have Finn Harps top of the table with them on 10 points as well after 4 games each. Shamrock Rovers nicely placed, just fine, early doors on 8 points. Derry City still to get off the mark. They obviously lost last night to Rovers. And Dundalk, 4 games in, stuck on a point. Just quick mention of Finn Harps, Stan, because obviously, look, nice start to the season, but really buoyed by the news on the stadium renovation. That is massive.
Well, yeah, it's provisional good news at the moment still, Joe, because they have got an allocation, which is fantastic, but they need to do a bit of work on it at their own end just to activate the money. But no, like it is a positive news story, and having been up there last, I think August it was, there is no story to sum up the sort of neglect of football in Ireland, really. If you want to look at a snapshot of it, it's that Finn Harps Stadium project, because you walk around the corner from the old decrepit ground that it is at the moment, and I think they'd all admit that there, as much as they love it in its own way. You have a great site, great potential, in a nice complex. There's an athletics club next door, there's a gym sort of facility and stuff there, screaming potential. But you have like the shell of like a stand. There's a crane that's there. There's just stuff that's been abandoned because they started it years ago and they couldn't go anywhere with it. And it's a really sad story. And, like the people talk about like the national team after the national team struggles, and it's a multi-layered debate. But often, like, these pictures and these images are very much tied in with it, that, when the sun isn't shining, we still need a commitment to these projects and to enact these things and make them happen. And, if you grow up in Donegal, you need a facility that you really dream about playing in, or that maybe, listen, kids will always dream about going away or whatever, but you need something locally to aspire to. And if we want to grow the game properly in the country, you need good stadiums and good facilities and places, and Finn Harps need one. So hopefully, yeah, but I mean, they're doing a great job on the pitch too. Ollie Horgan, the first to tell you it's 10 points away from relegation. That's how he would view it. But there's a bit more to them this year, Harps, I think, and I don't know how Ollie's going to cope when they're not in a relegation battle, but I don't think they're going to be in one.
And so, in short, and briefly if you can, you said they have to do a little bit themselves to activate the state money. I presume that's a very attainable target, is it?
Oh, you would hope so, yeah. I mean, it's a classic matching it to some degree, that you get a commitment of funds from the state, but you need to come up with a certain amount yourself. So I think they just need to do a bit of that. Okay. Some local politicking, because this is obviously the money they've got is from the large scale infrastructural fund, which is a national pot, but you obviously need a bit of local buy-in as well. So listen, it's Ireland. The fact that they're going well, at the moment, it's probably easier to get it than you would if you were in the first division. So hopefully they can do that.
Stewie, in fairness to you, the goal of the evening last night across the continent didn't come between Chelsea, Porto or PSG Bayern. It was Graham Burke. Unbelievable strike. Goals from the halfway line, I mean, are always a good thing, but this was as good as they come from the halfway line. Like Xabi Alonso scored one a couple of years ago where the keeper just fell over. Nothing against Xabi, but this one was a beauty.
Yeah, and I think it's made even more so by the fact that he had to jink around the close attention of 2 Derry players who were trying to get the ball off him. So a wonderful bit of skill to avoid that. So he hadn't got much time. If you look at it again, he hadn't got much time to get his head up. The ball, it's not like the ball was coming towards him and he had his head up and you could see the keeper off the line. He kind of had to do all that first, avoid the attention of the 2 Derry tackles. Then you could see him having a little look up, and the execution is it's incredible. And all it lacked was the roar. The wonderful roar that you would expect it to get, especially a goal of that quality, regardless of where it is in the world. It was it's stunning, absolutely fantastic. And the one thing you will always get in this league, we're always struggling to sort of put it up on a pedestal and give it the sort of give it the PR it deserves. But my God, do we see some wonderful goals in this league down through the years. If you look back at any goal of the season in this league for the last 10 years or so, you'll see some incredible strikes, and that's probably one of the best. It's great they're now thrown up on Twitter as well, so it means the whole world sees them and they get to go viral. On Burke, Dan, Aston Villa Academy product, I think he was there with Callum Robinson back in the day. Second spell now at Shamrock Rovers. He left to join Preston in 18, then came back on loan. That move now permanent. Obviously was in and around the Irish squad, the first
home-based goal scorer since Ray Tracy in 1978. So lots of talent. Graham Burke obviously didn't work out for him at Preston quite.
No. He went to a club where probably the style didn't necessarily suit him. Graham Burke's a very technical player. I think that's something about the league at the moment. Probably maybe even changed from Stewie's time playing, that there's even in midfield areas now. I mean, Graham Burke's actually a striker, but he can play as a number 10. There's a large number of really technical players in the league at the moment. It's actually become quite a technical league in terms of attacking players. It's maybe not as intense as it used to be in terms of midfield physicality in some ways, but there's a lot of really skillful players in the league. And Graham Burke is a funny case. A friend of Graham Burke said to me a couple of years ago, who also played in the league, and they pretty much said that every young player in the League of Ireland wants to be in England. They want to get to England. But the one exception to that was Graham Burke, they said, who ironically enough was the one at the time who was joining Preston, because he is you hear people say this sometimes, but him, it's very true. He is very much the definition of a home bird. And once things didn't work out for him at Preston, he wasn't just going to stay over there and play down the leagues just because he could. And he could have done that. But that's not really his thing. He's pretty happy and pretty settled at home. The Rovers suits him. They're a good football inside. He's able to go and express himself and play. He was on standby for the most recent Ireland squad, the treble header in March. Stephen Kenny really likes him. And I wouldn't be surprised if Graham Burke, got into a senior squad at some stage in the next couple of years. It might take a couple of injuries or something for it to happen. I mean, he was called in late in November. But I think even when everyone's fit, I think it wouldn't be completely 1,000,000 to 1 that he'd be around one. But he's always been a completely natural talent, a really gifted player. You saw it with that goal. He just one look and he knew he could execute it because he can do that. There's never a fluke with him with anything. He a couple of times a season he'll do something amazing, and he is one of these players that probably is more so suited to the European game than maybe even the lower league English game. And it wouldn't shock me in Europe this summer if he did very well, because he's, that's just the type of player that he is. And there's a lot of them in the league at the moment, really good technical number 10s.
The European game. Stewie just spat on the ground when you said that, Dan. So
I don't know, Stewie, do you think it is the league now?
No, Joe's only stirring it. Go on, Dan. Yeah. We ignore Joe. Joe, can you go away now and stop chatting?
I'll let two football men have a chat here.
But do you think that's something that's changed? I don't know, from watching the league now, that there is a lot of and there was very skillful players in your day like Wes and Joey and Joe and loads, but every team has a couple of these players now, I think, to some degree. It's definitely become a technical league. I do agree. Yeah, I think there's a number of different issues that have added to that. The coaching. The coaching in the game has improved. It's become a lot more technical. Probably become too technical. Won't go there. So there's obviously the rules of the game. The referees. They've completely clamped down on the over physicality of the game. The pitches have improved.
Yeah.
They were very good in my day, but they're excellent now, and so they should be. There's no excuse for anybody, especially in the country of Ireland, not to be able to grow grass on a on a rectangular piece of land. So
sorry, Stu, I'm jumping in because I'm just conscious the clock's against me and I have 3-4 minutes here, and I do want to talk about St. Pat's against Dundalk. So Stephen O'Donnell, obviously a disciple of Stephen Kenny, doing very well at Pat's. They're off to a nice start. 10 points from their opening 4. Dundalk, Stu, with a point from 4, and Shane Keegan said that their game against St. Pat's is now must win almost this early in the season. Are Dundalk on a downward trajectory, Stu? Did the Europa League campaign paper over a few cracks in terms of people felt they were going better than they are?
In my opinion, yeah, it did. I hate to kind of sort of burst that bubble a bit, but you will never get an easier route into the group stages of Europa League than Dundalk did last year. And all credit to them, they fully capitalised on the fact that they were pitted against lesser teams. They did their stuff and they got through, but it did certainly paper over a lot of issues that were there. The timing of the removal of Vinnie Perth was just wrong for me at the time they did it. They should have stuck with him till the end of the season. But because of what they did in August, that sort of quick reaction to off the back of the European defeat to bring in Filippo, it was a quick jerk reaction, and I think they're regretting that now, because they've effectively really, with the exception of maybe the FAI Cup, and I know they won the FAI Cup, but for a club like Dundalk, when you take into consideration the number of games they played under this manager, or Shane Keegan, if you want to take the two of them together, it doesn't really matter, to be quite honest, at this stage. They've been really, really poor. When you consider the standard that they've set Dundalk over the previous years, the resources they have available, the finances that they've gotten, the football club has pulled in, something in between 10 and 12 million in the last 6 or 7, 8 years or so. So it's they're in a really bad place, and they're going up against probably the best team in the league at the moment. Pats are absolutely flying. Looks like they're really benefiting from a very, very good pre-season. Stevie O'Donnell has gotten, seems to be getting his message through. He's taken everything he's learned as a player from Dundalk and from those wonderful, successful years. He's taken all the positives from that, and he's injected that into this Pats team, this Pats squad. It's taken time. Stevie's obviously had to be able to get players out and get players in, but Pats look to me like a team that have had a perfect pre-season. Everything's been set, everything's ready. They have their main man back, which is Chris Forrester. He's back to his best, and he's added something to his game now. He's a bit of grit about him now, along with the quality we all know he has, and he's got consistency. He looks like he's enjoying the game again. He's hungry. He's getting around the pitch, and that's feeding off all the other players. They've signed quality in Mountney and Barrett on top of Benson and Coughlin. And this idea, it's a must-win game. I mean, to be quite honest with you, every game at Dundalk's a must-win game. That's the level they're at the moment. And the fact that they find themselves bottom of the table with 1 point before, it's just not good enough. Simply not good enough.
Yeah. Fellas, let's see how that game goes against St. Pat's and pick this up next week. We might develop that a bit further. Stewie, I will let you go. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Joe. Take care.
Cheers. Good to talk to you, my man. Stewie Byrne with us. And Dan McDonald, I'll let you go as well. Thank you for your time this evening. Much appreciated.
Talk to you soon.
See you. Dan McDonald, Irish Independent. Full-time in the 2 games. Sorry, not the 2 games. Full-time certainly in Dortmund. City are through. And 90 seconds to go at Anfield. Still 0-0. So I think we can safely say Madrid through as well.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the Champions League. We love it as much as Neymar loves himself. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
How do you put a value on real expertise? How do you put a value on the training, experience and precision that only a true expert in their field brings? Well, 8 out of 10 Irish drivers know how. Because when it comes to the value of Volkswagen expertise, 8 out of 10 Irish drivers would pay more for a Volkswagen serviced by Volkswagen expert technicians. Book your classic service from only €179 at volkswagenservice.ie and keep your Volkswagen a Volkswagen. Terms and conditions apply.
Boyle Sports now has dozens of new player markets on the Boyle Sports app, powered by Opta. Fancy that informed striker? Markets now available on shots, left foot, right foot and headed goals. Or how about total passes, tackles, assists? They're all available on every match. Boyle Sports. This is betting. Gamble responsibly. See gamblingcare.ie. 18+.
How long have I got? 30 seconds. Okay, there's an amazing offer for Sky Q I have to tell you about. Imagine having all of Sky TV, new originals and box sets, together with all of Netflix. Plus you get Spotify, YouTube and catch-up TV like RTE Player. Sky Q has everything you love in one place. It just makes life easy. Oh, and it's less than you think. Search Sky 30 to find out more. New Sky TV customers only. Set up fees, minimum term and further terms apply.
Guaranteed Irish business members are working hard to support jobs, communities and help our economy recover and prosper beyond COVID and Brexit.
Who would have thought from humble beginnings in a West Cork butcher shop in the 1880s that Clonakilty Food Company will be exporting their black pudding, white pudding, sausages and rashers around the world today? Supporting 50 jobs in Clonakilty, West Cork, Clonakilty Food Company, a local family business, has made sure that their products are available to families at home and abroad during these challenging times. Let's start our recovery with GuaranteedIrish.ie. Altogether better.
Leaders Lounge, the premium online leadership event, returns on April 22nd with a world-class panel of successful leaders. Razzie Erasmus, in conversation with Paul McGinley, reveals the principles he used to transform South African rugby to World Cup victory. Brian O'Driscoll and Joanne O'Riordan on their diverse and inspiring leadership journeys. And Chanel McCoy analyses the evolution of the modern business leader. This compelling event is a must-see. Leaders Lounge, Thursday, April 22nd. Book now at leadersloungelive.com.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. Only the cream of the crop pick up Champions League medals. Jonathan Greening's got one. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
So your semi-finals, Champions League, it's Chelsea against Real Madrid. It's PSG against Man City. You've got to say, that is tasty. Everybody bar Stewie Byrne in the footballing world will be watching those games. Apologies, by the way, we meant to do longer with Stewie on the League of Ireland. We will make a point of doing that on Tuesday. We'll get Dan and Stewie on again and go a bit longer on domestic action. Interesting weekend coming up. We'll see St. Pat's Dundalk for a start, how that goes. The football show is with thanks to Paddy Power. For information on responsible gambling, visit gamblingcare.ie. Our competition winner is Colette Moreau, who correctly answered Brian O'Driscoll. He has just the 133 test caps for Ireland. So, Colette, you've won 4 tickets to the Leaders Lounge event, April 22nd. Everybody else, check out leadersloungelive.com if you're interested in attending virtually, obviously. Tomorrow morning, OTB AM, Mark Lawrenson's going to talk about the Champions League, I suspect, and how things didn't quite happen for Liverpool this evening. Louise Galvin on the Ireland-France match on Saturday. Virtual Insanity as well with John Duggan. Then tomorrow evening, John Giles, as usual, with Nathan, and the Northern Ireland manager, Kenny Shields, is going to take a call on Northern Ireland making the Euros. Tom Dunn is on the way next.